So starting at a comfortable seat, we just let the attention come to the breathing. Hands resting in the lap. Give the shoulders a little bit of a wiggle, let them fall away from the ears. And check that you're on the centre of those sitting bones and the spine is coming up. And if you know the Ujjayi breath, then narrowing the passageway there a little bit at the throat, so the breath takes on that little whispering sound. And let's have 5 Ujjayi breaths here. So just allowing that breath to lengthen a little bit if it wants to. Allow perhaps for there to be a little pause between each inhale and exhale and inhale. And this rhythm that we're setting up with the breath now is the one that we're going to follow through the practice. So we're aiming for 2 or 3 seconds per inhale and the same for each exhale. And then we're going to try and match our movements to that, particularly in the sun salutations, which are coming up. So let's make our way to a standing position. So standing in the front half of the mat, we want those feet hip width and just try and make the feet feel nice and alive. So see if you can spread the toes out and feel the pads of the toes pressing into the mat. We often don't think very much about our feet, they just kind of do the job, but they're pretty incredible when we do think about them. So see if you can really feel the weight coming down through the feet. And then from there, we're standing up tall. Now in any standing pose, you're welcome to lift the kneecaps by contracting the quads. Tummy pulls in. So moving in time with the breath, then let's start our sun salutations. So with an inhale, raise the hands, take a nice stretch up high, and then exhale, find a forward fold, nice stretch of the hamstrings. With an inhale, lengthen at the spine, and then exhale, place the hands and step the feet back. Chaturanga-dandasana. Now you can hold the weight off the mat, or you could lower all the way down to the mat. Inhale, take a little back bend, and then exhale, draw the hips up and back to your downward facing dog. So 5 breaths here. We've got the fingers spread wide with the middle fingers pointing forwards, rolling the upper arms in towards one another, sending the shoulders away from the ears in the opposite of a shrug. Long spine. Brilliant. So with the next inhale, stepping as lightly as you can on the mat, bring the feet to the hands and lengthen that spine. Then exhale, find a forward fold. If the hands come down, bring the thumbs next to the little toes. And then inhale, come up, stretch up high, lifting that chest perhaps into a back bend, and exhale to standing. Good. Next one. Inhale, raise the hands. Exhale, forward fold, holding the body out nice and long. Inhale, lift and lengthen, and exhale to Chaturanga-dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog, and exhale, downward facing dog. 5 breaths. Good. So with the next inhale, step, or you might jump to bring the feet to the hands, lengthen out the spine, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come up, reach up, stretch high, maybe a back bend, and exhale to standing. Good. Next one. Inhale, raise the hands, reach high, spread the fingers, palms facing. Exhale, keep that length in the body as you forward fold. Inhale, draw the spine out long. Exhale, Chaturanga-Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Low shoulders, you can stretch through the abdomen. Exhale, leading with the hips, downward facing dog. And then we'll raise the right leg. Don't let this hip draw up, point it down. Pull the tummy in. Good. Again, stepping lightly on the mat, feet to hands, long spine. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come up. Exhale to standing. Next one, inhale, raise the hands. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, Chaturanga-Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And we can raise the left leg again. Try not to let the left hip come up. And then inhale, feet to hands, halfway up, long back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come up. And exhale to standing. Brilliant. Last one. Inhale, raise the hands. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, step or jump. Chaturanga-Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. 5 breaths. Spiraling the upper arms in towards one another. Pressing the hands into the floor. Lengthening the spine. Pulling the tummy in. And then with your next inhale, feet to hands, lengthen the spine. Exhale, nice forward fold. Inhale, come up. And exhale to standing. Brilliant job. Let's move along then to Surya Namaskar B. So bending the knees. We'll inhale, sweep the mat, come into chair pose. Biceps by the ears. Exhale, fold down, place the ribcage onto the thighs, and then lift the hips. Inhale, lift and lengthen through the spine. And exhale to Chaturanga-Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, stepping the right foot forward, place the left heel down, reach up as you lunge down, warrior A. Exhale, Chaturanga-Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot forward, right foot flat, warrior. Exhale, Chaturanga-Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. 5 breaths. And then inhale, feet to hands, halfway up, long back. Exhale, fold forwards. Bend your knees. Inhale, lift up the hands and exhale, straighten. Good. Next one, inhale, chair pose. Tuck the tailbone under and pull the tummy in. And then exhale, bring the rib cage onto the thighs and see if you can lift the hips. Inhale, lift and lengthen through the spine. And exhale, chaturanga dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Try and keep those shoulders very low. And exhale, roll over the toes to your downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot forward, left foot flat. Warrior. Steer that left hip forwards. And then exhale to chaturanga dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And inhale, left foot forward, right foot flat. Warrior. Exhale, chaturanga dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Chest draws forward, stretch those tummy muscles. Exhale, downward facing dog, 5 breaths. And then inhale, feet to hands, lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees. Inhale, lift up the hands and exhale, straighten. Good. Third one then. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, chaturanga dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, stepping that right foot forward, placing the left heel down, find your balance and stretch up. Exhale, come back to chaturanga dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot forward, right foot flat. Warrior. Exhale, chaturanga dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. 5 breaths. But let's raise this right leg. Bend the knee, drop the foot over. And turn into a little twist. So placing these hands very firmly on the floor. Just begin to look out under the right arm. And then inhale, feet to hands, halfway up, long back. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees. Inhale, lift the hands. Exhale, straighten. Good. 4th one. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, step or jump to chaturanga dandasana. Elbows in, slowly lower. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot forward, left foot flat. Warrior, steering this left hip forwards. And exhale, chaturanga dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And inhale, left foot forward, right foot flat. Warrior. Exhale, chaturanga dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. 5 breaths. Let's raise that left leg. Bend the knee, drop the foot over. We do allow that hip to twizzle up this time. And then with the next inhale, feet to hands, halfway up, long back. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees. Inhale, lift the hands. Exhale, straighten. And then one last one. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, Chaturanga-Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot forward, left foot flat, warrior. Exhale, Chaturanga-Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot forward, right foot flat, warrior. And exhale, Chaturanga-Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. 5 breaths. Lengthening the spine. Spiraling the upper arms inwards. Stretching the heels down to the mat if you can. And then with an inhale, stepping or jumping to bring the feet to the hands, lengthen out the spine. And exhale, fall forward. Bend the knees. Inhale, lift up the hands. And exhale, straighten. Good job. So let's come into a nice standing forward bend. And let's do this by bringing the hands onto the hips. Just take a moment to feel the feet firmly in the floor, toes spreading out. We'll lift the rib cage slightly so it comes up away from the hips and the waist lengthens. Pull the tummy in, and then we're just going to turn this pelvis over so those hip bones fall down towards the thighs. So see how this feels at the hamstrings, and just let the hands come to wherever they get to. That might be holding on to the elbows, to the ankles, or to the big toes. If you want to, in this pose, we can move a little bit with the inhales and the exhales. So you could inhale and just see if you can lift and lengthen the body a little bit, and then exhale, bring it further down. We're trying to lay that rib cage onto the thighs. Now, if that feels miles away, try bending the legs a little and gluing that rib cage onto the thighs. Let's have 3 more breaths. Second one of these, a few options. You might bring your hands underneath the feet from the front. You could bend your knees as much as you want to do that. Again, you can lay the rib cage onto the thighs. Feels quite nice. Bit more challenging. You could bring the hands around behind and cup the heel into the palm of the hand. So the inner forearm is resting against the back of the calf. We can draw ourselves a little more deeply into this forward fold. Try to keep lengthening the body. Good stuff. So from here we'll just release, and then we'll gently roll our way up to a standing position, and then we'll move through our standing balances with external rotation of the hips. So there's 3 variations of those. You can stay in the first one, you could stay in the second, or you can move through all 3. So let's start with our right foot on the floor, feeling nice and strong through that leg. And then we're just going to twizzle the left knee out to the side. So finding this external rotation of the femur as it fits into the hip socket. From here, you might keep the toes on the floor. You might bring the foot to the calf muscle, or you might close this knee joint entirely. Bring the foot against the thigh muscle, making sure that you're pushing back against the foot with that muscle. So you've got a kind of opposition going on. Hips are level, tummy's drawn in, waist is long. Let's bring the hands to the centre of the chest. If you lift the elbows to the height of the wrists and push, then you might feel a little bit of work going on through the arms and the shoulders. So when you're ready, let's just carefully, very mindfully and deliberately, we're just stepping out from this and in on the other side. So our left foot becomes the standing one. Again, make sure that foot is alive. Spread the toes out, tickle the mat with the toes, and then find this external rotation at the right hip. Toes might be on the floor, foot to the calf, or closing the knee joint entirely, heel to the thigh. Pressing back against the foot with the thigh. Level the hips, pull in the tummy, lengthen the waist. Press the hands at the centre of the chest, or for a little more challenge to the balance, raise the hands. Brilliant, and we'll gently release. So second one of these, bringing the weight onto the right foot. We're just going to carefully lift this left leg, and we're going to bring the ankle so it's on the front of this standing leg, just above the knee. And this knee is just going to keep going out to the side. And then we're going to have a go at bending this standing leg. So you might bring the hands to the centre of the chest, they're kind of out of the way, kind of neat. And then we're just seeing how far we can sit down. And then gently release. And again, having a go on the other side. So my left foot is becoming my standing one. Spread the toes, tickle the mat. And just bringing that right ankle across in front of the knee. Right knee wings out to the side. Just taking a moment to stand tall and strong. Hands to the centre of the chest. Then we can just explore this single leg squat. Brilliant, and then just carefully coming back up to standing, shaking anything that needs a little shake. The last one of these is going to be the half lotus, standing forward bend. You might want to take a block or something to land your hands onto for this one. So you could just have those in front of you. Again, we can bring our right foot to be the standing one first of all. And then we're just trying to close that knee joint totally. So you may have done that in tree pose if you were bringing the foot up to the thigh. So closing this joint and then just seeing if we can let that hip rotate in its socket as we very gently explore bringing that heel up nice and high. And you might just support that foot in its place as you let the knee fall down. Then lengthening the body, we can just bring a hand down to the blocks or whatever you found, or maybe to the floor. So we're trying to have this foot tucked into the soft tummy area. So rather than it pressing against the rib cage, just kind of fits in neatly there. And then when you're ready, you can just carefully make your way back up. And have a little go on the other side. Maybe give the knees a little shake. So take plenty of time to go into these if you are doing this half lotus. If not, you might be doing the single leg squat again, or you might be in tree pose. All fine, because they're all doing the same work, which is the external rotation of the hip and challenging our balance a little bit because we're standing on one leg. So when you're ready, just making your way out, and we can give those knees a little wiggle. Well done. So some good work through the hips there. Pose we haven't done a little while, which I kind of remembered the other day, is dancer's pose. I really like it. So I'm just going to start this on my left foot so you can see a little bit better. So weight coming down onto my left foot. I'm just going to start by taking hold of the right foot behind me and just letting the knee come down next to the other one. Now, you might do this stretch after running, quad stretch, and you might choose to stay here. So if that quad stretch is feeling lovely, then this just might be the perfect pose for you. So go ahead and enjoy it. But if you want to, you can extend the free arm forwards and then gently kicking that foot back into the hand. Try and send the knee straight back behind you as you lift it. So when you're ready, just have a little play with that on the other side. So again, you might just come up, take the foot and squeeze it in towards the bottom, stretching this muscle on the front of the thigh. Or you might explore extending the free hand forwards as you kick that foot up and lift the knee a little higher. And then we'll just gently make our way out. And notice to come into a floppy standing forward bend as a counter pose. So if you do come into that dancer's pose, bit of a back bend. So just feel free to wiggle that out. And then we'll place those hands and step the feet back for downward facing dog. Hands firmly into the mat. Let's just take a few little wiggles here in this pose, just noticing how the body's feeling after those postures. And then we're going to come into our plank challenge. So we're on 9 breaths now. 9 breaths in side plank, 9 breaths in middle plank, 9 breaths in side plank on the other side. Looking for around about 3 seconds per inhale and per exhale. 6 or so seconds per breath. So let's go. And when you're done, just coming to child's pose. So folding those legs underneath you, sitting back onto the heels. So letting the forehead rest onto the mat. And then roll our way up to a kneeling position. And from here, we'll just see how it feels to sit on the heels in this kneeling position. If it feels like there's some work going on, stay here. Otherwise, open the feet a little bit, maybe roll the calves out and see if you can sit down in between the feet. So if that feels like there's some work going on, then stay here. But if you want to, you could explore coming back onto the elbows. Or you might lay all the way back. So if you've chosen those in any of those two last options, try just pushing up a little bit through the hips and see if you can find a stretch in the quads. Good stuff. So just carefully bring yourself back up, perhaps climbing onto the elbows and then onto the hands. And we'll just make our way into a wide-legged seat, as we didn't do our standing ones. So let's just slide those feet out wide. And we might find a stretch in the adductors or a stretch in the hamstrings. And we're trying to be sitting tall, again, on the middles of the sitting bones, with the spine coming up nice and straight and the shoulders away from the ears. Now, if you feel like you're rolling backwards, just put the hands kind of behind you and gently push. You might need to be a little bit higher, you might need to be up on the fingertips, or even if you have blocks, you could put your hands onto the blocks there. If it feels possible, see if you can find a little bit of a forward lean. So bringing the hands in between the V shape of the legs, and start to shift the weight onto the front parts of the sitting bones. So these hip bones start to roll forwards and point down at the mat. So we're not really in the business of rounding the back, because that actually is the opposite of a forward bend. We want to try and roll ourselves forward as if we were trying to tip this pelvis completely flat, and have our tummy and our chest and our chin coming towards the floor. So just find the place where you're feeling a nice stretch, not a horrible one. Pull the tummy in and listen to the slow, steady breathing. Brilliant, and then we'll just gently bring our way back up. And we'll find Baddha Konasana, Cobblers pose. Soles the feet together, knees coming out wide. You might poke the elbows into the calf muscles and just apply a little bit of gentle pressure if you want to find a bit more of a stretching sensation at the hips. Again, straight spine, so the chest leading forwards. Pull the tummy in. Brilliant. And then closing those knees like a big book, we can bring the hands onto the front positions, just checking there's nothing to bang your head on behind you. Shift back so you're balancing on the sitting bones. From there, you might let go with the arms. You might begin to lift the feet. This is boat pose or Navasana. Let's take a little rest. We're going to take that one a second time. And then coming up again, just until we feel those tummy muscles working. Good stuff. And then if you want a little bit of a fun challenge, see if you can bring the hands behind the calves and the rib cage to the thighs, balancing seated forward bend. If you don't have the balancing version, then sending the legs down to the ground, shifting forwards on the sitting bones and walking the hands along a little bit beside the legs. Good, and then just gently releasing. We'll bring one foot so that it's flat on the floor with the knee bent up, and we'll just come forwards into another seated forward bend, this time with the flexed hip kind of in the way, and we'll find our way into Marichyasana A, so turning that shoulder over in its socket, maybe reaching around and catching the hands behind you for the bind. If that's very comfortable, instead of hooking the fingers together, you could hold on to the other wrists. Good, so let's just gently release from here, and then we'll bring this leg up over the right arm. So I've got my right leg bent and the right arm here. So I'm just seeing whether this leg wants to come up any higher, but as long as it's above the elbow, to be honest, this lift will work. So we've got both hands on the floor. We want to lean forward slightly, engage the abdominals and press the hands into the floor, and just see if you can lift the body from the ground. And then release. We'll just have a little go at Marichyasana A and that lift on the other side. So I'm stepping my left foot in, finding my forward lean, extending my left arm, turn the shoulder over in its socket, knee close to the body so that I can catch it into my armpit, and then the hands can reach around and hold on either to the fingers or to the wrists. Brilliant, so we can just release from there and then have a go at just hopping this leg over the arm. It might be that you just stay here holding the leg, or if you can get it reasonably high up and then squeeze that leg onto the arm, bringing the hands down onto the floor, leaning forwards a little bit, sending the bottom up and back, you can maybe find the lift. And releasing. Well done. Let's give those legs a little shake out. Again, we'll come to a seated forward bend. Slow, steady EJ breathe in. And then we'll just come up and then back for an inversion. So you might lie on the back and just let the feet float into the air. Or if you have a shoulder stand, you might roll the hips up away from the floor, walking the hands down either side of the spine in the direction of the shoulder blades, trying to tuck the shoulders underneath so the weight is on the shoulders, hence the name, and the elbows coming close in towards one another, trying to get a vertical line through the body. Now, if this hurts the shoulders or the neck, just come down into the gentle inversion, that's fine. We're just looking to get the legs up in the air really, and some elements of upside downers. So just go ahead, whichever one feels good. And then when you're ready, just gently beginning to roll your way down. We'll come into fish pose, which is a counter posture for shoulder stand. But even if you didn't do shoulder stand, it's still a very nice posture. So just lift the hips for a moment and slide the hands underneath so the palms face the ground. And then put the bottom back down onto the backs of the hands. You could straighten the legs or cross them at the ankles. Then tuck the elbows underneath. Press them into the floor. And lift the chest so that the top of the head draws along the ground in the direction of the elbows, and you're looking back behind you. So you've only got the arms from the elbows to the fingertips on the floor. The upper arms are not on the floor. Neither are the shoulders. So a nice stretch through throat, an open heart. And then we can gently slide out of this. So just let the head slide along the ground as the shoulders come down onto the ground. Then we can just lift the bottom and bring the hands out. And we can make our way into Shavasana. So again, this might be lying with your legs straight. You could have the knees bent up and resting in against one another with the lower back snuggled into the ground. Or you might go for a reclining Cobblers pose with the soles of the feet together and the knees falling out wide. You might be able to tuck the shoulder blades underneath you. That might feel quite nice. So whatever feels good. Soften the breath at this point. Release the Ujjayi breath. And let's just count 20 breaths here. And when you've counted those 20 breaths, just allow some movement into the body, starting at the fingers and the toes and then just moving along the limbs. And in your own time, in your own way, you can just begin to make your way back to a seated position. And then with the inhale, raising the hands up for one last stretch. And then exhale, bring them down into the centre of the chest. And just taking a last moment of gratitude. Before bowing forwards to close your practice.